My name's Curt Gardner. I was born in 1937, before the Second World War. I have another brother. My father was German and my mother was English. I used to like to say she was a Geordie, she wasn't English at all. We lived in Germany. I was born in Germany. We lived there until 1945 and came across when my mother decided to return home because her home was in England. Well, that was before we went to Silesia. We were in a place called Prussia, East Prussia, where my father, who was in the Luftwaffe, was stationed. There were some prisoners of war helping the farmers doing the harvest. And she'd heard there was an Englishman there as well. So she went to the farmers. She said, "Do you need anybody to give you a hand with the harvest?" "Oh, just get on with it." And so she worked beside this English was actually a Scotsman. He told her they were planning an escape. And she said, "Oh, well, I might be able to help you." So she had the maps from my father's, because my father was a navigator in transport aircraft, and his binoculars, and she smuggled them to him, not realizing the danger that she could be subjected to. And when my father found out, he was so cross, he gave her a good hiding, because he said if they'd found out where those maps came from, because it had his information on, he said we would have all been in a concentration camp. We finished up later on in a village, and we shared a room with 3 other families, each taking a corner of the room. And while we were out, one of the people went through my mother's belongings and found her teaching papers. She'd been a teacher before the war, and these were obviously foreign papers. And so she went to the local Gauleiter, Commissar, and he came along and he said, "You're under arrest, you're going to go to a concentration camp." And I remember her shouting at this Commissar in his uniform that she'd done more for the Deutsche Reich than he had done. She was not only had a husband, but she had a boy, so going to be big, strong lads. And there was a terrific shouting match going on. But he said he's going to get rid of us. So my mother then decided that this was not a good place to be, and we packed our bags and we left before the soldiers arrived. And that was the hard time of the trek, which was all by foot from then on. So one night my mother had heard that somebody was intending to escape, and she went and said, "I can help you." And they said, "No, you can't, you've got 2 children, you're going to be a hindrance." So my mother produced her teaching papers and says, "Look, I'm English, I can help you." And so they agreed to let us join them, reluctantly. On one occasion, when we were walking on the roads, there was checkpoints all along the road, and we had to produce papers just to prove that we were going somewhere. And sure enough, the guard said, "I can't let you through, I have instructions." And she pleaded with him for hours. And eventually, when the guard changed, he went and reported to his commanding officer, an American. And they came down, they interviewed my mother and said, "Okay, you can come across on your own." And the mother said, "No, I can't, because I've got not only my 2 boys, but I've also got all these brothers and sisters of mine in the world." She says, "They're my brothers and they're my sisters, they're my family. We are traveling together as a family." And so he said, "All right then, but I want you to stay here to act as an interpreter." And she said, "Well, I can't do that because we are on the move. We've got to keep moving." The bridge was so narrow. We had to actually move the wheels to get past the side of the bridge. I remember so well, they took the horse off because the horse would have been too quick. So we had to turn the wheels by hand, or they did anyway. I think my mother was extraordinary because she was my mother. And that might sound corny, but on one occasion we were being strafed by an aircraft, and she insisted on lying on top of us, my brother and I. So any bullets came our way would hit her before it would hit us. So we would be saved. She was resourceful, she was courageous, she was determined, because determination in a woman who has children is nothing matters except children. Not always confident, but she managed. And that was she never gave up. She never gave up.
I'm Irene Carlton. I came in this country during the war in former Yugoslavia, in Bosnia. That was over 30 years ago now. I left my family behind, my mother, my father and my sister. I'm taking the lid of this box, and inside are all the letters that I received during the war in Bosnia in 92, 93, 94, from my father and from my cousin, whom I called brother, because we were really, really close. I'm part Croatian and part Bosnian as well, so I've got dual nationality. My mother is Croatian and my father was Bosnian. My cousin, my brother Ako, he was a doctor, young doctor, graduated. He was cardiologist and just graduated as a consultant. And he, during the war in Bosnia, he actually worked in an open-air makeshift hospital in a little village held by Bosnian army. And he did operation without any anesthetics on wounded soldiers. So he saved many, many lives. So this was written on the 22nd of October 1992 in Zagreb, Croatia. My dear darling, you wanted me to reply to your letter as soon as possible. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. The events were dictating my time. I just got overwhelmed. How is it possible that in a matter of only few months, everything changed in life? I know now that Mesha's, my dad's visits to our family house every Saturday on his way back from the market were really special. You know how strong bond we have. I'm trying not to think about him as it drives me into a state of desperation. My only wish at this time is for us to meet again, that he won't be the same person I left. I'm not the same, but he saw it. He saw it all. He saw the graves. Yes, there is actually a really special story that my father, while he was alive, he kept repeating to himself, to all of us, to our children, our neighbors. He lived in Croatia for the rest of his life after the war in Bosnia. So that was a story of when the war started. We were occupied by Serbs in this northern town of Brčko, where I originally come from. And my father was immediately taken into concentration camp, which was the same place where he used to be one of the managing directors. Most of people that were taken were Croats and Bosnian Muslims. My father was Bosnian Muslim, married to a Croat. So my father had some really life-changing experience there. He was few times put on a death row, and then Serbian killers would decide, oh well, we are not going to do it now. Let's wait till tomorrow bring. So he had very kind of significant mental health issues and suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of his life after this experience. On one of those, occasions, he somehow managed to talk to one of the guards, Serbian guards, in a very humane language, very emotional language. And basically he was telling him, I don't know how I die, I just want to die quick, I don't want to be in pain, I'm scared of pain, so please make sure if it happens, I just die quick. Because, they were just listening every day, the screams that were coming from the part of the factory. Suddenly, next day, his best friend from childhood called Pero, Serbian friend, appeared. And he had a word with a Serbian guard, and they released my dad from prison. My dad and Pero were together. They started school together. They knew each other since they were 5 years old. Pero was Serbian. My father was Bosnian Muslim. They were both best friends. And Pero took my dad out on a safe place, and he told him, look, I'm going to take you tomorrow across the border, and it's going to be across the border with Serbia, because that's the only way I can do it, because I'm Serb. Pero took my dad over the border. What he said to the border guards, I don't know, but he must have been very, very convincing. He saved my dad. My dad then consequently went to Serbia, met by this Serbian guy who arranged for him to be transported via Hungary to Germany, because my mother and my sister were refugees in Germany. He learned later on that on his way back, his best friend from childhood, man who saved him, Pero, was killed by Serbian forces for helping my dad. What actually happened later was that Pero left behind his wife and daughter, and my father financially helped them for the rest of his life.